This beat crazy.
And now, a three-time sports editor, former online and managing editor, and host of Talk That Talk, award-winning journalist Terrell Chatterbox Emerson.
Welcome to it. Welcome to it. It is a little after 3 o'clock on a Monday afternoon, so you guys know what time it is. It is time for Talk That Talk. I don't know why the hell my mic sounds like that. I don't like it. Is that a little better? Is it a little better?
No, it's still here. It still sounds like it's peaking or a little bit. Or...
Wait a minute. I feel like it's starting to clear up. There we go. It's a little bit better. Ooh. It was a little bit better.
Does mine sound like that too?
No, yours sounds good.
Okay.
I think what I need to do is actually probably back it up a little bit. Mic check. It was just fine during the mic check. Welcome to it, guys. It is our Monday episode of the Talk That Talk radio show. I am your host, Terrell Chatterbox Emerson, in studio with my guy, Isaiah Torres. Isaiah, what's going on, man?
What's going on? Can I just say something real fast? So this is my second time on the cam with you. The first time, my third time officially in here. The first time I was off to the side, off camera. I gotta say, I don't listen to a whole lot of local nearby, radio show like media people. But I gotta say, you having that intro has to be one of the hardest. Like I don't remember his full name, but
Dick Calvert.
Yes, but him being the voice of the Rebels, and now actually I do kind of hear it in my mic a little bit now too. I don't know, maybe it's my earphones. I don't know, but
we'll
play with it.
Mic check. It sounds like mine's is going every now and again because it sounds good now, and then it's just like certain words that I say. But you're good. Go ahead and have at it.
No, I was just saying, like hearing that. It's got to be one of the hardest, because that's the voice of the Rebels, that's the voice of the city.
It is, man, and shout out to DC. I feel like I talk about DC a lot here. As a matter of fact, I seen what's today, Monday?
Yeah,
I seen DC and Calvert Saturday. I seen them at the game, and I'm actually going through my phone right now to see if I can find this picture that I sent them. Let's see if it pops up.
Well, because you said he retired again recently, right?
Yeah, he retired a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Here it is. So I'm gonna see if the camera can
catch
it. And by the way, this would be my busted phone that I took the picture on, as opposed to the other one. But I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm gonna try to focus the camera a little bit more. Is it focusing? If you guys can see it on YouTube, we'll get to socials in a second. Dick Calvert's name is in the rafters at the Thomas and Mack. And I actually kind of talked about that. First of all, in case, I'll tell the story again really quick. I don't have a tip in from my mom today. I don't think I have a tip in from my dad either. Do I? Nope. I don't think I have one for either one of them. So we can kind of start this way, right? I had a conversation with DC around it was COVID time for sure.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, I have this idea, right? And shout out to my guy 2K, shout out to my guy Taekwon for doing my intro music the past two radio shows, the past two versions of the radio show, right? When we were on campus and since we've left. And one of the things that I talked about with Taekwon for this second one, usually I let the creative go. Like usually this is my tattoos as well. I'll bring you the idea 65-70% done and let you do the rest, right? And I went to Taekwon and I was like, hey, this next time around, he said he wanted to just do the beat. He said he wasn't going to rap over it. So I was like, well,
Okay.
all right, that's a little different, right? So
Yeah.
let's do it. I said, but I want to incorporate the Jaws thing.
Oh, okay.
And he was like,
I like where you're going with that.
and Taekwon watches a lot of sports. So he was like, okay, you're going with like a Target the Shark type deal.
Right.
And I was like, yeah. So if you can make the Jaws, if you could take the Jaws sample and start the beat underwater, it would be real dope. And if you notice, that's the way the song starts.
Okay.
So I kind of hit DC when he was making it and was like, hey, so I kind of need you to do me a favor. And he was like, what's up? I said, I'm going to try to think of a list like of things for you to say, like to kind of intro me.
Right.
I was like, but I need one of those Running Rebel intros for the radio show. And shout out to DC. I'll go ahead and give him a round of applause. Shout out to DC. He went into UNLV solely for that purpose, to record that, and went back home. So
Nice.
What I didn't know until after the fact is I think this was after he caught it originally. But I didn't know that DC had caught COVID originally.
Oh,
so
okay.
the fact that he even stepped back outside for me at that time, I had no idea. But big shout out to DC. Seen him on Saturday, seen his wife on Saturday. I love those guys. Like, I absolutely love them.
So you had him recording in Greenspun?
He did it. I don't know where he went. I don't know where he went. I was at home and I got the call from him and he was like, hey, they're going to email that to you.
Gotcha.
And I was like, email what? And he was like, the audio. I was like, dog, you did it? Like, you did it that quick? Shout out to DC, man. DC is the man.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, longtime voice of the Rebels, which is the heartbeat voice. I mean, you know, the Knights really do take a place in the heart of the city now too, but the original first love, heartbeat of the city is the Rebels. Him being the voice of it, and then him giving you this intro, it honestly, it pumps me up. It sounds awesome.
Good to know, brother. Good to know. And I was actually shout out to Joey Gallegos as well. I was talking to Joey about it, and obviously Joey is Vegas through and through, right? And one of the things when I talked to Joey about it, I was like, I don't really care if people outside of Vegas don't get it, because that's not really what it's for.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of Vegas references in my intro. You either catch them or you don't.
Oh, okay.
And that's just the way that I operate. But I do have a lot to get to. Matter of fact, let me tell one more DC story since we're here, right? The name of this, not even a name, this company, right? I was sitting down with DC at one of the UNLV baseball games. This was years ago, right? And and Dick was like, hey, do you own your writing? And I was like, I mean, that's the goal, right? Like, at a certain point to own it. And he was like, why is that the goal? And why is it not like happening now? And I was like, I mean, clearly you know something that I don't. And he was like, yeah, you can have everything under this kind of umbrella. And he kind of just threw a name out there. And I looked at him and was like, okay. Didn't really know about that. And he was like, well, I'm going to get you in line with the woman who handles all my business affairs.
Oh, okay.
And we going to kind of see what happens. Shout out to Miss Sonia. He went ahead and plugged me with Sonia. And I think that same year, the Talk That Talk media company was birthed. So DC is a big reason as to why this company started when I was in college. It was going to start. It was not going to start this early. So shout out to DC as well. Yeah, man. Shout out to DC. Shout out to DC. But again, guys, if you guys are watching our YouTube, first of all, we thank you. If you guys would like to watch our YouTube, all you have to do is go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk Radio Show. Once again, go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk Radio Show. We are live twice weekly on YouTube, Mondays 3 to 5, and then on Thursdays 10 to midnight. The best way to kind of figure out what our schedule is, it's Monday before Monday Night Football and Thursday after Thursday Night Football, in case you guys needed an easier way to remember that. But if you guys want to find us on any other platform, I'm talking Facebook, I'm talking Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all you guys have to do is go to any of those respective platforms, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk Radio Show. The one thing that will be different is our Twitter. Our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. Once again, our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. let's talk some sports, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk some sports. One more thing. I lied. This show is being shot from the Harry Reid Research and Technology Park here on Sunset, here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Zay, now let's talk sports, brother. Let's talk sports. I feel like it's only right now that we did that whole little intro about DC, essentially, that we talk some UNLV basketball. I think now is a good time to do it. But yeah, man, the Lady Rebels are off to a 2-0 start. Really, obviously, I kind of talked about it last week a little bit when breaking down their wins against LMU and Northern Arizona. Lindy's ability to essentially retool and rebuild this team with, can't say the same people, right? With all due respect to these players,
Right.
But there's recruiting done. There's recruiting, and there's recruiting done right. And that's what I'll kind of say in terms of this lead into UNLV women's basketball, because Lindy and her camp do a great job of moving on to the next, right? And obviously, and I tried to say this in the most respectful way possible. First of all, I'm blessed. We're blessed, right? In terms of covering the people that we cover, just in terms of the talent that we get to cover, right? Desi is somebody that I'm probably going to tell my kids about, just in terms of, I'm thinking community college too. Like, I don't think I've covered a more dominant basketball player aside from Asia. Like, and that's just one-on-one people that I've encountered, right? So Desi is the best college basketball player I've ever seen.
Covered. Okay.
And it is what it is, right? So you would think that this team would have a significant hole to fill when she leaves, right? And this is no shot at Desi, but more of a feather in the cap of Lindy and her recruiting. I'm looking at Meadow, right? Who actually won freshman of the year for the Mountain, or freshman of the week rather, for the Mountain West today. Meadow Rowland, but I'm also looking at McKenna Brackens. Alyssa Brown was in the front court with Desi, and I'm looking at the next man up mentality for this roster. This team makeup, she continues to kind of duplicate these athletes.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, well, okay, I'll put it to you this way.
Okay, I thought you had a question for me.
No, I was just gonna say, like, college sports, that's just the way it is. Recruitment, super important. And now these days, you not only do you have to recruit new players, but you have to recruit your own players year after year. And like
That's
you
a
said,
great point.
I mean, different sport, but Nick Saban kind of brought up about Ohio State, the football team, Ryan Day. Everyone knows they put a whole bunch of money into the NIL to build this team to compete for a championship. And week 1 on College Game Day, Nick Saban said, "Well, do you remember what he said? He said, you could put all the pieces together and spend all that money, but if they don't win, you're not successful, then you're blank out of luck." And but yeah, like you said,
He's not wrong.
no. So yeah, for the women's basketball team, for them to, like you said, you lose your star player, a big piece, and you got to figure out how you recover from that. And I mean, so far, I know it's young season,
Yeah.
it barely started, but they seem like they kind of figured it out, at least to get the season started. So yeah, I mean, hopefully they could just keep it up. And obviously there's many more factors that come into it, whether everyone's gelling together, whether they stay healthy.
That's the huge part in sports, right? The health, right? And as a matter of fact, I'm getting out, in case you guys are watching our YouTube, I'm actually getting out our live link, so everybody can go ahead and pop into the live as well and follow and do all of those fun things. But basically what you just said about UNLV women's basketball, I want to go through a little rundown really quick, because I believe I mentioned it. When did I mention this? I mentioned this maybe Thursday, if not a week ago for sure. So UNLV basketball, right? Women's basketball. Let's go back to Essence Booker, right? And I remember the freshman year of Kiera Jackson. And I know about those battles in practice between Essence and Kiera. If you look now, and I had to kind of double check my age for a quick second because Kiera's a senior.
Okay.
Essence obviously has moved on. And now I'm looking at a freshman on the roster, Tegan Coven, who looks eerily similar to Kiera. So let's take somebody like a Justice Etheridge, right? Somebody who I loved what Lindy said a couple of years ago about Justice. She said she's an anchor on the perimeter, and you don't really have those. And her defensive presence changed games, changed seasons, right? You look at Amarachi Kempson. I see a lot of Justice on the other end. Matter of fact, I just mentioned a week ago, I had this conversation with Amarachi. Maybe this was on Thursday. I talked about it, where I talked about UNLV going on a 10-0 run in like 78 seconds, but which is nuts in itself, right?
Yeah.
But they hop into a full court press defense with about 8.5 in the second quarter left. They stayed in that press defense the rest of the first half. That's like a Justice idea. Like, that's something that only Justice would sign up for on previous teams, right? No disrespect to other players. Right. Justice was just wired differently. Like, she was an animal on that side of the ball when it came to that, right? Amarachi, and again, with all due respect to Justice, Amarachi is better offensively. So there's a recruiting tact, right? And then again, I talked about Desi, and this is what I feel like is the biggest feather in Desi's cap. They've replaced her with 3 different people. And that's the interesting part, right? Because Alyssa is the sure thing, right? Mm-hmm. Alyssa is, first of all, Alyssa was there last year with Desi, last couple of years, right? With Desi. But I feel like AB is the short thing for this team. I feel like McKenna Brackens is the one that's probably has the best polished offensive game out of the 3 bigs that probably get the most burn on this team. And then the third one would be Meadow Rowland. And I feel like her characteristic might be the most important because for somebody who watched Desi, there was an element of Desi's game that was wild. And it was slightly reckless. And that's what made her such a headache to guard, because sometimes she would do things that was out of whack.
Right.
Meadow has that. Meadow has a reckless abandon to her game to where you kind of look at it and you go, I kind of like it. Any coach would tell you energy and effort is an attribute.
Right.
You get that with McKenna, with Meadow, and then as I said before, with AB, you get the sure thing. They've replaced Desi with 3 different people.
That's the way to approach things. I mean, it's going to be really difficult to replace someone who was like a cornerstone of your program, right, for 4 years. And sometimes people.
Does he stay 5?
Maybe 5.
No, it was 4
because those COVID years. Some of these people.
Yeah, I think she left with another year, though, like crazy.
But yeah, I mean, I think people like to take shortcuts sometimes. They like to take the quick way out, and they think, they scramble. Oh, I gotta replace this cornerstone. I gotta find the next big person to replace. But no, you could take a more team approach, and instead of trying to grab one superstar caliber person to replace your cornerstone, you grab 3. Or I mean, not only. I mean, you could do 2, but like you saying, not just 2. They grab 3 quality players, and they all collaborate to make up for what you're missing from last year's team. So I mean, it works out. I mean, I don't want to sound biased, but this kind of
some biasness.
No. This kind of reminds me of like a team that I like.
Okay.
the Rams all off season.
Mm-hmm.
They said we know Les Need and Sean McVay said we know we can't replace Aaron Donald, and we're not looking to replace Aaron Donald.
Better do something.
There's no possible way we're going to replace a first ballot Hall of Fame player. But what we could do is draft 2 pretty good guys from Florida State in the first and second rounds and build off that. And honestly, this even kind of starts back from last year because last year they drafted Byron Young and Kobe Turner.
Yep. And if you've been to a Ram game, Kobe Turner is they're marketing him as if he's the new face, right?
Yeah. I mean, he was a candidate for Defensive Rookie of the Year. And now Jared Verse seems like he's a candidate this year so far. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to veer off too off on.
You're not.
On that,
I mean,
on that topic,
you're staying on topic in terms of replacements. I kind of like it.
Right. But yeah, that's just how I feel about it. And the Lady Rebels, they approached it that way. They didn't take like I said, dump in dollars worth to find a big piece. They took the team aspect, and it's working so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with the results so far. 2 up, none down at this present moment for UNLV. But here's where we get to what's next, right? And they're headed to probably there already. They're headed to Arizona
tomorrow night
for a matchup against the Wildcats tomorrow. I know you went to Phoenix for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know if
okay,
the last 2 meetings between these 2 programs
for the Lady Rebels.
Yep,
against
Arizona,
against U of A. No, I'm not too familiar. No. Last week we were talking more about their.
Were you here?
No, last
Okay.
Monday we were talking about their rivalry with NAU.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we touched on that. We didn't touch on U of A.
I feel like Thursday I might have touched on U of
Okay.
A then. So let's switch it up. Let's have a little fun with this one because three years ago, is it 4 now? Damn. At the start of this run for the Lady Rebels, they win the Mountain West. They go to the NCAA tournament.
Right.
First time under Lindy. They're a 13 seed. So they have to play a 4. The way that the women's tournament works, the 4s are at home. Lindy LaRock, in her first NCAA tournament berth, she went to Arizona. She lost a close one. I was at that game. One of the things that I talked about from that game, and I don't know if Lindy...
you went to Tucson? You were in Tucson for that game?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I went down. Shout out to Matthew Raftery. Matt went as well. And you watched UNLV play 30 minutes of great basketball. Last quarter, you watched the team shell up. Plain and simple. Team, unfamiliar territory.
Right.
Building started to get loud. Never been at this stage. They showed up, right?
Okay.
Since then, they've played one time on the campus of UNLV. The Lady Rebels won by 19.
Now, what season was that?
Was it last year?
Possibly a year or two ago.
I want to say they have a home and home because they're going to Arizona this year. I want to say it was last year.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, so that's what we're building off of. Okay, so that you're building off that past history going into this game.
Hey, man, I'm big. Lindy actually talked about it after Northern Arizona. I asked Lindy if she knew that she was 19-0 in the Thomas and Mack over the last 4 years.
Wow.
And she kind of smiled and was like, no, but you always have these little numbers for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely does Lindy not like my numbers, right? Usually they're all good for a winning program. Lindy's record is like, first of all, Lindy has like an 82% win percentage so far in her career. Lindy's early record against the Power 5 stunk. Plain and simple. And I talked to my dad about it. Okay. And I talked to her about it last game. And I talked about scheduling Arizona, right? And scheduling teams like Arizona. I think they had Oklahoma last year. They tend to have 2 or 3 of these every year where you kind of look and you're like, okay, who opted to play them? Like who chose that, right? Keep in mind, this is a Lindy who scheduled Stanford during a COVID year.
Oh.
And I asked Lindy about that decision, and I was trying to be respectful as I knew how. And I kind of was like,
what are you doing?
Why would you do that? And in her mind, she was like, first of all, we needed another game. But she also said, who better to play than the best?
I like that. I like that mindset.
I said it's a valid point.
Yeah.
But what I started to realize throughout the year, San Diego State looked different. Wyoming looked different. Boise looked different. The following year, Oklahoma looked different. This team has seen the high of the high in college basketball, and they've seen everything else on the way down. So this team, as I mentioned to Lindy after the last game, is the only, because keep in mind, they've been to 3 NCAA tournaments. This is one of those numbers that Lindy doesn't like. They don't have a dub yet. So the only way, in her opinion, to get past those hurdles in mid-March,
Right.
is to face these same teams that are gonna be there in mid-March.
In November. Right. Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Because I'm not too knowledgeable as opposed to from the men's game.
As we're 30 minutes into the show.
Yeah. but the process, the tournament selection process.
Okay.
I know that's something they talk about all the time in the men's game is the net 1 through 4 games or quad 1 through 4 games.
Yes, sir.
Do they look at those two when it comes to the women's game?
They do.
Okay. So so that's why games like tomorrow night's game is important. And like you said, that's the right mindset. You got to play them now in November, see how you look against them. So you know what to expect come March. I mean, sometimes you kind of place a whole different team, or you're a whole different team.
Yeah, for sure.
When you play them, that's the funny thing about these November games is you're playing them so early in the season when not just you but them are figuring out what's working, what's not working.
Yep.
But
so we're moving on to the men's game right now, and we were in here. It was myself, Markel, Will, and Kevin. We were all in here Saturday night to watch the UNLV Hawaii game.
Yeah, the full house.
Yeah, it was a couple of us in here, right? And we're in the theater. We're watching we were in the sports book, and we were watching the game. And I seen a headline at the bottom of the ticker on CBS, and I know the writer's name. I'm gonna leave him out of it, but I seen a headline, and keep in mind too, as a person who now I run this media company, right? But I've been obviously a writer before, and you don't always make your headline, and sometimes I've had editors make my headline to where the team is looking at me like, "Hey, B, what's going on with you?" And I'm like, I ain't even write that. Exactly. Like, I said what I said in the story, but I didn't write that headline.
That's what I feel is kind of unfair to the writer. And I wish that was something like that was talked about, at least discussed more. Is sometimes
that's why we're here.
It's like, the person who writes the article doesn't put the headline. You know, it's in this era where things are more even clickbait than ever. I feel like sometimes things could get misleading.
There are some people who literally their job is to create the headline.
Right.
So as you said before, you talk about all that clickbaity stuff. You're hired to do the clickbaity stuff. Like that's kind of what you're there for.
Right.
But I will say, I don't know if the writer did this on purpose.
Gotcha.
I don't know if the writer did it at all.
Okay.
But what I do know is the headline said, "Number 1 Kansas ready for March after big win over North Carolina." I looked over at the guys. I said, "Didn't college basketball season just start last week?" Everybody started laughing. Am I tripping? Because now if they lose 3 straight conference games in January, let's revisit this headline.
Right. Well,
those early season overreactions is what we are literally in the midst of dealing with. UNLV lost one game, and it's like the entire city is crashing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I feel like that's the picture that a lot of, I guess, headline driven companies try to paint because they love telling that story as the season progresses on. Like, let's say what you said happens, and it's February now, and
It usually does.
and ESPN is telling that story of like, you always see in the middle of a game, oh, let's take a look at the roller coaster that Kansas has been on this season. Oh, they started with a really impressive win,
North Carolina
over Carolina, where they were
North
up.
Carolina sucks.
They were up, and that's the thing. I don't know how they're gonna look.
Like,
I mean,
bro, what are we
I don't
doing?
know how they're gonna look, but yeah, I mean, I didn't get to peep that game live, but I did see kind of the highlights, and I know that Kansas was up big, but Carolina came back, and I think it ended up only being a 3-point game, if I'm wrong.
I couldn't.
But yeah, they had like a 20-something, almost 30-point lead, and they almost blew it. So I think they even lost that lead for a little bit, and they had to like finish strong and win the game. But anyways, that's the picture gonna say. Really good start, and then conference play. Like, oh, they had a rocky January, February, but that's just they always do that. They like to paint that. I don't know what it is about those. I see it mostly with ESPN, but they like to.
I mean,
show the trials and tribulations.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, though, sports. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith, and I'm gonna go ahead and say shout out to him because one of his answers to a question years ago is how I answer questions moving forward.
Okay.
Or how I've answered moving questions, or how I've answered questions moving forward ever since I've heard that. It was something about Philly, right? And he said it's our job as reporters, columnists, things of that nature to chronicle the season. We're following a team and we're just chronicling the season. And that put what we do into a completely different perspective for me.
Okay.
Because I could never put into words essentially what our job is, and to kind of like condense it into something that's easily digestible. We're watching an entire season and we're writing the book. That's it, right? So because of that, that's why it goes back to what you said before about why people are so attached to the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Let's take UNLV's last year.
It's tough. It's a slippery slope. I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, some of them gets cheesy.
You got to do your job, and but you do. It's a tough. Let's take this market for instance. I love the way you approach it. The way you approach it is how I want to be. I never want to be that guy who the guys don't trust or like talking to. Like I like, especially with the college guys. I'm 5 years removed from college now. But when I was in school, I'm like, I'm not a popular guy, but I walk amongst these guys are fellow students like me. Like I want to be able to be cordial with them and them to trust me and talk to me and stuff. And you never want to do something or say something where they lose that trust.
Yeah.
You want to be cool and cordial with them. I that's why I'm never a big fan of like slam pieces, and stuff like that. But it's tricky because when things are not going good, you kind of got to say they're not going good.
Yeah.
But also not try to hurt any feelings. It's tough. It's a slippery slope. I mean, like, oh man, I don't know if I could touch too much into it.
Okay.
But when Marvin Menzies that last season.
Okay. Depending on how far you want to go, we can go.
No, I remember one day I was there for shoot around. And they're going for a game the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went through the media scrub portion, and then they ended it. And so the cameras came off, and then Marvin, instead of leaving, Andy Grossman, Marvin leaving. Marvin goes, "Hold on, I want to talk to you guys." And the cameras are all off, and he's like, I don't remember who it was, but he talked to one of the writers about their story, and I didn't read that guy's story. Like, and I'm the fly on the wall in this situation. All these other guys are like working for television news station or writing for the Sun or the Review Journal. I'm just the guy from KUNV, the student guy, right? And
I want to talk about that.
It was
that way of thinking.
It was just
in the future.
It was just funny because I was like, oh, this is serious, and he's just like, why'd you put that? Why'd you write that? It hit him personally.
Yeah.
And I don't know what was in that article,
Mhm.
but the guy, he could have been lying, he could have been telling the truth. He goes, "Oh, like I didn't write that. That's the headline." So I wonder if it was just the headline or the
Mhm.
whole story. But the guy tried to tell him, like, Marvin, I didn't write the headline. I don't write that. That's the people who are above me. But I'll never forget that. I was just like a fly on the wall. I was like,
Mhm.
oh wow, like
I mean, at the end of the day, again, it's our job to chronicle the season, right?
Right.
And we'll hop into men's basketball right now, but I don't believe I don't know, man. I feel like if you guys are avid listeners of this radio show, you should know where I could go in terms of this topic. The only time, I don't want to say only time, take that back. I'll switch it up. I'll go to high school. And the story that, again, if you're an avid listener, you kind of know, but shout out to my guy, Zachary McMillan, right? And I remember Zach had, first of all, I went to Westchester, right? And for those who know, Westchester was a pretty popular school. And I remember we got a 6'10" transfer from San Diego. And when he gets on campus, it's this big ass white guy, right? Shout out to my dog, Zach. Me and Zach end up getting crazy close because he couldn't play his first year, right? So because he couldn't play in high school, essentially you couldn't, I think you could practice with the team. You couldn't travel with the team.
Okay.
So at the time when Zach transferred, Zach already had his car. So Zach was like, I'm going to drive to every game anyway. You're the reporter. Let's just roll.
Okay.
All right, bet. Hell yeah. So me and Zach got close just going to road trips for games, right? Fast forward to the following year. Zach finally gets to play.
Mm-hmm.
Zach didn't live up to expectations.
Gotcha.
There were times that I had to write columns questioning why, even though we have a 6'10" dude in the paint, why do we lack a presence? That's my dog.
Right.
That was probably the only time that I've gone to a player and been like, you know I love you, my guy. But, I mean, I have to report on what's being said.
Right.
And the numbers are the numbers. And shout out to my guy, Zach. He was like, Doug, I get what comes with the job.
Well, that's pretty cool and understanding from you guys being in high school, right? Of our high school to understand that.
100%. And that's exactly why he went to UCSD. There's a reason why. He stuck it out and he stuck it through and he got better as the season went along. But it's one of those moments where, as you said before, I can sit here and slam him, right? But there were things that I brought up. I mean, the level of competition in San Diego isn't Fairfax, isn't Taft, it's not what he's used to.
Yeah.
He's having problems in practice, guys. He's not going to come around until conference time. Sorry.
Yeah. That's pretty cool story because that, in a way, that kind of got you prepared.
It did.
Right away. You know?
But it also keeps me from explaining myself now.
Yeah.
If a 16-year-old understood that.
It's a good point.
I'm not explaining myself to you.
It's a good point.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I took you off tangent there. I'm sorry.
All right, guys. Breaking news, really quick. You guys know I love my Las Vegas Aviators. This news frustrates me just a tad bit. But the Las Vegas Aviators, or excuse me, I almost said Las Vegas A's, but I'm not going to jump that far. The Athletics have just completed a trade with the Atlanta Braves for a right-handed pitcher by the name of Jared Johnson. They just traded for righty Jared Johnson, but in exchange, they are sending infielder Nick Allen to the Atlanta Braves. Unfortunately, I have the unfortunate job to let you guys know. With all due respect to Jared, he could come in and be a baller, right? And obviously I know this is a long way, could be a long way for baseball or for the A's, but let's say he comes in and wins the World Series, right? Okay. Who cares? Let's say he comes in as an all-star. Who cares, right? He's done his job as part of the trade. I'm here to let everybody know. Athletic fans, from Class A ball all the way to the parent major league team, they are going to watch Nick Allen thrive, and they are going to be sick to their stomachs.
You're saying we lost a good one.
They know.
They know. But for the people who don't know,
I want to make a phone call so bad right now, dog, and I can't do it. Well, I can do it, but I want a raw reaction from somebody right now, and I can't do it.
I'm guessing this is a person that you've gotten to know quite a bit over the season.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's unfortunate to hear.
Here's the thing, though. More of these are coming. And we didn't have baseball on the schedule today, but this is what happens when news breaks live. Opening day last season, I did Aviators playing elsewhere on opening day. There were at the very least 12 former Aviators starting elsewhere. The A's have given up a lot of talent over the last couple of years, like potentially big name talent. Keep in mind, I'm going to just name a couple names now that I think about it, because I want to have some fun with it, right?
Yeah.
Nick Martini, who actually started in left field majority of the season for the Cincinnati Reds, is a former Aviator.
Okay.
Jorge Mateo,
really,
who plays the infield and center field for your Baltimore Orioles. He's a former Aviator. In fact, I have a video in my phone right now that I sent to team president Don Logan, because we're in the locker room following the 2019 PCL division clinching win, and Jorge pours champagne over Don's head. Don wipes his eyes, and in the midst of everything, you hear him pat him on the back, and he says, "You're a big leaguer." And when the trade happened and he went to Baltimore, I sent it to Don.
Oof. What was the response?
I knew it.
Oh.
I knew it then.
Yeah.
But Don will tell you what anybody else will tell you. We got to give up some of these guys that we know are going to be stars to load up on several guys that could be stars. The problem is the A's have struck out. No pun intended.
Yeah, that's tough, though. That's the business of it, though, right? I mean, you got to pick and choose who the guys you want to keep developing or give away, but also that's minor league ball too. You know, not everybody's gonna stick around, and at the end of the day, like you.
Oh, I can have certain conversations now. I'm so sorry to cut you off.
No,
I'm gonna tell you certain conversations that I've had now, because I couldn't say it because half of them were about Nick.
Gotcha.
But now let's go ahead and give you guys a peek behind the curtain real quick, because I remember having conversations with people within the organization, and this is with all due respect. Nick Allen played a lot at the big league level last year, right? Maybe it was 2 seasons ago now. He didn't hit very well at the big league level. He's a hell of a glove at short. The conversations that I had with people were based on, hey, he's not a third baseman. Hey, he's not a first baseman. This is somebody that you drafted and plays a key position. If you know that you have something shored up in his glove at short, why don't you let him make his mistakes in the batter's box? If this is your guy at this key position, your center field, your second baseman, your shortstop, your catcher, you're probably those are my cornerstones. I need those guys, right?
Right.
Sometimes your first baseman. 9 times out of 10, if you draft a player and you're giving him a shot at that level, that young, you got to take both sides of it, right? I remember having a conversation with somebody a couple of years ago, and they were talking about getting younger. And I said, okay, but Nick had got sent back down. And I asked the person, I said, so if we're talking about getting younger, why am I staring at Nick Allen every day? And they kind of looked at me. With all due respect, if we're getting younger, why is Tony Kemp still playing second base at the big league level? If we're getting younger, please make these two things make sense to me.
Right.
and the option is to trade him? This is why people think a dumpster fire is being imported here into Vegas. This is why people think that. Whether or not it's true remains to be seen.
Yeah.
This doesn't help. So let's just say that Nick goes to Atlanta, and now you're around a Skip who has developed guys like Ozzie Albies, who plays short, by the way, and plays second. Has helped develop guys like Ronald Acuna, who helped get Freddie Freeman his first ring. You ship him there? My guess is Nick Allen plays 90 games at the big league level next year.
Okay. I mean, for his sake, for your sake, I mean, it sounds like he's someone that you were very, very keen of. I hope so too. You know,
I want to call Dick Calvert right now.
You want to call him?
I swear I do. He's a former big league scout. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah. I mean, you keep telling me stuff about him that I didn't know before. So, and like you said, taking a peek behind the curtain. That's what I love about this business, man. It constantly gives you a peek behind the curtain. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's so tough. That's why they do what they do, and some guys are better than it than others, and that's why I have no say. It's hard to be a GM or a president of operations
For
and
sure.
picking and choosing, predicting who's going to be the guy, who's not going to be the guy, and who you keep and who you get rid of. But especially in a game like minor league ball, where it's a revolving door. And long story short, as much as we love a guy being good on a team, the goal for them is to
Move up.
Yeah,
It is.
But obviously you don't want them to move up in a different organization. And I get it. It's tricky. But I guess all we could do is wish them the best of luck, like you said, in Atlanta.
All right, whatever. I'll do it real quick. I had a conversation with Tyler Soderstrom 2 years ago.
Okay.
And Tyler is a big bat. He's a lefty, right? Tyler is people are probably gonna look at me crazy, but Tyler's a catcher. Somebody just texted me about the Buffalo Bills. That is disgusting. You see, I looked at my phone, like, what is happening? Tyler was drafted as a catcher. I asked, and keep in mind, I talked about him landing in the right position, in the right situation. I know a lot of people feel like Oakland is Oakland, but the one thing that I can say about Oakland, they've turned out catcher after catcher after catcher, and it's been that way for the last decade or so. I asked him about falling into the right situation. He was like, yeah, I kind of feel like in a weird way I did, because they know how to develop this position.
Yeah.
Cool. Tyler's not the best defensive catcher behind the plate.
Okay.
Right? I asked Tyler 2 years ago if his call to the big leagues would come quicker if he would play first or be a DH. If that call came quicker, would he be willing to sacrifice not playing catcher? Tyler shocked the hell out of me when he said, I mean, technically they drafted me as a catcher, so probably not. I said, okay. Tyler plays majority of last season at the big league level. He didn't play catcher much.
Was he at first?
He was at first.
Or DH? Like
one of the two.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to Tyler. Not putting this on his name by no means. I'm throwing something at that wall, seeing if it'll stick.
Right.
What if Tyler's not happy?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you haven't talked to him, so I was wondering, like, is that something he kind of?
And with all due respect to him, he's not taking Shea Langelier's spot.
Yeah.
So you know what's going to end up happening if you're not happy?
Well, you get.
I'm going to get another breaking news text in a little bit.
Right. Yeah, it sucks. I mean, honestly,
and that's another person you're going to watch thrive somewhere else if he does get traded.
I'm not fully surprised that by his answer to that question you asked him about, like, would you do it? Just because, yes, like everyone's dream is to make it to the big leagues, right? But a lot of those guys, they want to play every day, and that's the difference. Because I used to think like
He did say I'm an everyday big league catcher.
I used to think like that too. I had a conversation with a good friend of mine who his main sport is baseball,
Mhm.
and I was like, wouldn't you be happy just like being there? Like, sure, you don't get to play all the time, but you contribute when you can.
Mhm.
And he goes, man, well, when you're a player, you want to play. Like, you want to play every day. Sometimes you're unhappy just waiting your turn. I mean, everyone has a role, right? But we're just talking like general conversation wise. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by his answer to you, you know. And if he got drafted to be catcher and he loves it, I'm sure he'd rather play catcher.
And I thought his answer was brilliant because he was like, they drafted me as a catcher, so I'm assuming they want me to play catcher.
Yeah.
Tell him he's lying. Like, it's one of those situations to where it's like, I'm assuming you wanted me to play this. You drafted me as this. We had the conversations about this. I've
Yeah.
played this in AAA. You want me to go do what now?
Yeah.
Play first?
Mm-hmm.
Why? And not to sound like that, considering where the team is as well, I don't, keep in mind too, I don't know that Nick Allen didn't ask for this.
Right.
If I feel like you gave up on me last year, and then this year I spend 90% of my time at the minor league level, and I'm leading the PCL in batting, yo, do me a favor and get me the hell out of here.
Yeah. It's possible that's what it came down to. Like we said, that's minor league ball though, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a revolving door, and everyone's goal is to move up. I mean, even in some cases the managers too. Like everyone involved.
That Fran Riordan story, I mean, I've talked about it. It's up. I mean, they have things to answer.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's the thing is
Yeah.
not all organizations are successful. You know, sometimes
tell me about it.
wrong moves are made, and unfortunately, we are in the vicinity of an organization who makes some questionable decisions. You know.
And again, guys, this was not where we were supposed to go with the conversation, but this is what happens when news breaks.
Right.
But we'll get back onto our originally scheduled, or back into our originally scheduled program. We'll talk UNLV men's basketball, and then we'll talk some UNLV football and get into some pro sports. But the men's team dropped their first game. As I said, oh my God, the sky is falling.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest. I do, and this is gonna be sad.
But it was to like a legit team. I mean,
Better than losing to like
maybe I'm biased. I am a Penny Hardaway fan. I do like Memphis, but I mean, it's not like they lost their first game to Alabama State. You know what I mean? Like if they've lost to Alabama State, the conversation is probably a little worse.
Okay,
But-
here's why I'm going to.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. That's perfectly fine. This is what the show is for. I feel like for me, I don't think the sky is falling,
Right.
but I do understand why there's some levels of here we go again, right? And I've mentioned it before. Kevin and his ability to get this team up
Right.
for big games is, I mean, that I've seen. I've been here since 2017. It's probably second to none, right? He's going to pick up a ranked win when he needs to. He's going to pick up a win that you probably have slated the other way, right?
Yes.
It's probably the games where he's favored where things go left. But
Fortunately, yeah.
yeah, in a weird twist of events, right?
Right.
But this game, I feel like, and the funny thing was, I had to rewrite one of my questions
Okay.
because maybe I had to just dub the question altogether, because one of the things I was going to ask Kevin after the game was his philosophy has been good enough to where this team, and I forgot who had the conversation, it might have been Will. This program rather has created long droughts for the other team with their defense. I'm talking 4 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes. Like, it gets ugly for the other team sometimes, right? In those spurts. And then UNLV goes scoreless for like 6 minutes. And this season, I know, again, this is the early part, but this is the fun part of trying to figure out what we're going to see
Right.
come February, come March, right? I didn't see that for the first 65 minutes of the season, right? I didn't see it.
Yeah.
And that was one of my questions for Kevin was, if this team can avoid those 5, 6-minute droughts without scoring, it does enough on the defensive end.
Yes.
Everybody's storyline coming out of this game was, and I had to obviously include it in my story, 71% from the field is gross in the second half. And that's what Memphis shot.
Wow.
UNLV lost by 6. Respectfully, my bigger point, UNLV had 2 makes in the last 7:29 of the game.
Dang.
To me, that was the storyline.
Yeah.
And that's why, even though I don't feel like the sky is falling, some of the people that have told me the sky is falling, it's because of that. It's still not corrected.
Right.
In times where you need a bucket, you can't go get one. If that continues,
Then we're in trouble.
we're in the same position that we were last year.
Yeah.
And we're hoping for, and keep in mind, as great as I think of a run last year was,
Right.
they had to hit a switch.
Yeah.
And I talked about Kevin's coaching kind of changing.
Yes.
I don't know that we haven't reverted back in a certain sense. Now, keep in mind, this doesn't mean that come Christmas time they couldn't kick it into gear again and start the new year
Right.
for winning their first 7 conference games. I'm not saying that,
Yeah.
but I also get the frustration from certain people looking at the situation from the outside looking in and going, again, you know what's interesting? Going into that game, I talked to Markel, who was at the game, and I was talking to Will Despard from the Sporting Tribune. I said his name 2 or 3 times. I went into it and I said, you know what's weird? They said, what? I said, some people, in my humble opinion, they'll lie on their gut feeling.
Oh, okay.
And I literally don't try not to tell people I have a feeling unless I literally have a feeling. I was in the building. I'm watching the building fill up. I said, you know what today reminds me of? And they were like, what? I said, remember when we hosted San Francisco a couple years ago? And everybody knew that was going to be a tournament team. And UNLV played probably 35 minutes of amazing ball.
Mm.
In the last 5, you was like, what the hell happened?
Well, yeah.
UNLV played 33 minutes of great basketball. The last 7 minutes, you were like, the hell just happened?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have to agree with you on that. I've seen that pattern a few years now, but there's definitely some key moments where they did do that. And it's something we talked about last week too. You said that Kevin had to flip a switch. Maybe it was in his attitude, maybe it was in his coaching, and the results. They ended the year on a good little run. I mean, going to the NIT is nothing to celebrate, in my opinion. But
not for this program.
No,
that's the unfortunate thing, right?
Right. But man, I mean, I like what you're saying, and I think you might be onto something. Like, unfortunately, hopefully they can correct that, and hopefully we could be wrong. But I'm gonna hope that we are just dealing with early season stuff, continuity things. Like you said, it's kind of you got some returnees, but for the most part, there's some. I forgot the exact number you said on transfers coming in.
We have 10 newcomers.
See, I mean, that's double-digit amount of newcomers is wild.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's just a continuity thing.
And 5 won't be here next. Well, let me not say that. 5 are upperclassmen. So.
Oh, okay. So
take from that.
It's like a 1-year rental type situation.
Continues to be a 1-year rental.
Right.
We're on like year 5 of 1-year rentals for this program.
Yeah. But.
And then on top of that, let's talk about DJ Thomas, right?
Yeah.
And somebody who I have probably the most fun in terms of covering these seasons back to back to back from the standpoint of watching development, which is probably why I like the Aviator so much, right? I'm watching the most development there.
Exactly.
I think DJ is a much better passer than last year. I think DJ, and this is the interesting thing because, again, when I coach middle school basketball, I made all my middle schoolers watch Chris Paul on the pick and roll, period. I don't care whether you shoot. I don't care whether you pass. Watch Chris Paul on the pick and roll. And what I was having him do was pause before he made his decision.
Okay.
What is he doing? What are we doing? Are you passing? Are you read the defense? What do you look at how people are collapsing? Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
my entire point of showing my middle schoolers that was pace. That's one thing I've learned with I did learn with my middle schoolers. You had no pace. Everything had to be 100. DJ came into college basketball and collegiate basketball with pace. With 1 year of college ball under his belt, his pace has gotten better. His pace has gotten better. You talked about Penny Hardaway.
Right.
I watched, and this is another thing that just went through my head. I watched when DJ had got introduced and Penny dapped him up. To me, it looked like that dap up was a little bit different than the rest of them. For me, it looked like almost like I know, like, trust me, I know you.
Yeah.
It was one of those type of dap ups, right? Early in the second half, I'm watching. I said, do they have a big covering DJ the entire way up the floor? I said, okay, I'm watching. I said, do they have a second man shadowing DJ? About 2 minutes after that, I said, are they face guarding DJ? This is a 19-year-old. I don't even know if he's 19 yet.
Yeah, I don't know if he is either.
This is insane. And I'm happy Kevin talked about it after the fact.
Yeah.
You have a team or a program, rather, that's probably going to win 20 games face guarding your lead sophomore.
Right.
Again, that's why UNLV wasn't able to find a bucket, right?
Mm.
But that says a lot about him and still where this program can go. And again, I don't think anybody on this planet, especially here in this city, will say anything positive about UNLV basketball going anywhere without immediately linking that to Deion.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I remember last season looking and honestly being in shock of how, like you said, the tempo that he was running things at. I was shocked at the poise that he had as a true freshman. You know, he's not even a redshirt. He's a true freshman, fresh out of high school, doing what he was doing and taking over as the leader of a team. And you know, you keep learning more about the guy. You know, like local guy, dad played for the program, and all of that. And it just makes the story even cooler. But yeah, like you said, I became a fan instantly. I'm like, wow, I'm shocked. This guy, he is running things as the true freshman. Like you said, he might not even be 18 yet. Like, you know, now going into year 2, he might be not even 19 yet. So it's wild. And honestly, it's a good point. I did notice that's always going to happen. If you ball out one year, the next season, people are going to know you now. You're not going to shock them. Now they know, okay, this is a guy we're going to have to try to, like you said, face guard or double, really lock down to make sure that if they're going to win, it's not going to be because of him. We're gonna force the other guys. And, you know, credit to Memphis for doing that in the last stretch of the game.
Yeah. So say that a little bit louder. Like, I wish you would repeat that point. All I saw on Saturday,
right?
Somebody else beat us. Anybody else.
Yep.
Get the ball Bear. Bear was 4 for 4. By the way, he's 14 for 15 to start his Division I career.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
But I looked at Penny. I looked at that defense, and essentially they ran everything against Deion that wasn't a boxing one. You're not beating us.
Yeah. We're gonna make someone else do it. And I mean, that's, like I said, credit to them for doing that. And that's something that hopefully Deion could continue to get past, because that's what all the great players do, right? Like the good players, they score whenever they can. But the great players, they figure out how to score when they have all the attention on them. When they know, okay, option 1 might not work. What is option 2 and 3? Like, they're really putting it on me, but I'm still gonna get to my spot. I'm still gonna do whatever I want. And that's just something that hopefully he can continue to get better at. And the second step to that is who else could help step up in those moments where maybe he can't get to a spot, or they're kind of locking him in. So yeah, that's, like I said, it's one of those things where we're only 2 games in. hopefully continuity wise, we figure out who that second player could be.
It has to be Bear, right?
I mean, with those numbers you're saying, I would think so.
I mean, they're 1-1.
Right.
They're 1-1. They have a date with Omaha next.
Thursday.
Yeah, man. Thursday, 7 p.m. I don't know what that means for the radio show. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys.
That's a good point.
I believe I'm gonna do the show afterwards still. Because that's before my birthday trip. So I know a week from I believe a week from now we will cancel Monday's show.
Okay.
I don't know anything else as of right now. But that game on Thursday is the third of their 6-game homestand. Yeah, I'll be in the building. Let me not say that. Somebody will be in the building. Somebody will be in the building to cover that game. But yeah, man, as I kind of mentioned before, me and a couple of the guys were here Saturday. And again, if you guys are just now joining via YouTube, welcome. First of all, we are into hour 2 of the Talk That Talk radio show. I'm your host, Terrell Chatterbox Emerson, in studio with my guy, Isaiah Torres. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and get to some of our hour number 2 topics. We got UNLV football. We got the Raiders. We have the Golden Knights as well. We'll see what else we'll be able to kind of squeeze in there. But UNLV football, man. Boy, it's hard to win in Hawaii. And that was my takeaway.
And that's exactly what you told me last week.
I'm telling you, man.
On Monday last week, you told me that, and it went completely over my head. And because I was thinking, all right, Hawaii, we got a dub. And you brought up a good point. You know, maybe time difference, all that, just being over there, it might not handle it the best way. And man, as Saturday night unraveled and I saw how close the game was,
I'm telling you, bro.
All I kept thinking about was like, oh man, Terrell told me this was gonna happen, and let's hope they pull it out. I mean, luckily they still got the win, but it was a little too close for my liking.
And trust me, I think it was a little too close for a lot of people's liking, right?
Yeah.
But UNLV did come away with a 29-27 victory over Hawaii in Hawaii to keep the Golden Pineapple. Where do you rank that in terms of
trophies?
In terms of college football trophies?
I mean, like at a
rivalry
on a number scale, or just like in general,
just a roundabout. Because there's 1,000 trophies, but just roundabout. Like, is it in the top 50 of college football? Is it in the top 10 of college football? Where do you guys? Because I've heard some people rank it certain places, and I'm like, I don't think you guys pay attention to other places, but that's just me.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely
other rivalries. I should say
definitely lower on my list because there's so many other like trophies.
Y'all gonna hate us. I think it might be on a lower scale for mine as well.
For sure.
I think that, and I'm not even talking about just the rivalry. So I'm talking about just the trophy.
Right.
And keep in mind too, with all due respect, I went to Cerritos College, and Frank Mazzotta probably won't like this. Shout out to Coach. What's up, Coach? But Cerritos used to play El Camino, and El Camino is one of our rivals, right?
Yeah.
We used to play for a milk can.
Oh, okay.
The first time I saw it, I looked at Coach Frank and was like, you passed up on a chance to go to the NFL and coach with Joe Gibbs because you want to play for a milk can? Like, have you lost it? So there are some bad trophies out there, right?
Yeah. I'll put the pineapple over that.
I would too. At this point, I would too. I like the Golden Shillelagh with USC and Notre Dame. I like that one.
Right.
I
the
battle with a bronze pig. I think that's Iowa and Minnesota, maybe. But bro, there's a couple of them. Like a couple of them in the Big Ten are dope.
Yeah,
like whether you know it or not, they're dope.
Because like Michigan and Minnesota, they have the jug, right?
Is that the jug? I think that might be the jug.
I think Minnesota has another one where it's like the Paul Bunyan.
So we just named 3 Minnesota trophies. Like Minnesota's not a program you would think about, but in terms of their trophies,
it's tradition. It's like history, and that's what we love about college sports, right? But
And
yeah,
not only that, with all due respect, I've heard certain people say certain things about the pineapple, right? And I'm looking around and I'm like, that ain't even the best trophy in our rivalries.
I mean,
The cannon is way better than the
you're
pineapple.
reading my mind. Exactly. I was just gonna say that.
Maybe I'm biased because I didn't painted that joint before, but you guys are crazy. Like, you guys are nuts. I don't think that pineapple is.
No, you literally just read my mind. I was just about to say that. Like the cannon is so cool. Like to me, I think it's so. I mean, I didn't get to paint it. I did take a picture with it. And it was. I like the cannon.
I want to propose something to the program as well. Maybe I'll make a phone call. I feel like if UNLV beats UNR again, we should still have a ceremony to paint it. Because usually the ceremony is when you take it back.
Right.
We're painting over it, right?
Right.
And then they obviously go back, they buff it, they do another paint, whatever. They make it look all shiny the way it should look.
Exactly.
But if we continue to beat UNR 3, 4, 5 seasons in a row, every now and again, let's say every second win, we should,
No, I agree with you.
we should go ahead and
because it's part
bring
of
everybody out again and paint this joint again.
it's part of the whole experience.
It is.
Okay, so for me, I came to UNLV in 2015.
Okay.
So my freshman year, that was the same. What was it? Tony Sanchez. So that whole first year, that was my first year here. Just to put a little context.
That does give me a window now.
They won that year, and funny enough, I actually went to that game. It was up in Reno. My first and ever only.
Tony owned Reno.
Yeah, he did. That was crazy.
You can say whatever you want about Tony, but he understood a rivalry game.
He won that game. Yeah, my freshman year, I went up. CSUN, they did the thing where you could pay. I think it was like, I forgot how much, but you could do like a 2-person or a 3-person package, and they gave you a ticket to the game. They gave you a stay at the Circus up there in Reno, and it was the bus trip.
I went,
and I did that my freshman year.
I didn't do it 2015, but I went to one of those.
You did one of those too?
Yes, bro.
You know what's really funny? It's like
Reno.
Reno is funny. I'm new to your audience and your show.
Okay,
but I'm from SoCal. Like the rivalry I know is UCLA USC. So I'm used to your rivalry school being like a few
down the street,
a few miles down the road.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I was in a newsroom. Shout out to the Scarlet and Gray Free Press. I was in a newsroom, and they knew obviously like how committed I was to sports.
Right.
And somebody was like, "Oh, I know Terrell's going to the game." Somebody was like, "Are you going?" I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna drive down." They said, "Drive down to where?" I said, "To UNR." Somebody was like, "Do me a favor."
That's how you learn, huh?
Map how long it takes to get to UNR.
Oh man,
I was like, max like 2 hours, right? Mm-hmm. I looked at my phone. They said, "What it say?" I said 6 hours and 53 minutes. I said, "I'm not going, guys. I'm not driving. I'm not doing that. I'll fly, but I'm not driving down to UNR or up to UNR."
Right. I found out on the bus
how long it was. Wait, we gotta stop. And how long? 4 hours, and we won't be there in 4 hours.
I found out on the bus. The friend I went with, I was like, "Oh man, so well, this is not too far. Like the rivals, right? Like we're not too far away." He's like, "No, this is a good 7-hour drive,
brother." When I tell you,
I was so mad.
I went there.
But we made it work
on pure. First of all, I went there on pure BS. I'm not gonna hold you. I went there for work, clearly. But it was my first time in Reno.
Okay.
So
you're saying you had fun?
I had an immense amount of fun. Okay. Like I was gonna have fun regardless. I don't think some of them, and I say them being Reno natives, I don't think they had fun in certain moments. But I think they got the last laugh because I think we ended up losing that game. That was Mike Hughes' last game, I believe.
Okay. Well, let's just say I had fun on my trip too.
You have to. You have to, especially at college. You have like that, right?
You have to.
But I made sure I wore red at every corner.
Right,
like at every turn, I wore red, and that's already one of my favorite colors to begin with. And I told my dad as soon as I got out there, I called him and I was like, I always wanted this feel. I was like, because like you just said, right, with USC and UCLA, I always grew up USC. I grew up on that side of the fence. You could be walking down the street with somebody from UCLA. It just kind of is what it is. The rivalry is what it is, but
Right.
I have people and I won't say my family, but in my friend group who went to both schools.
Okay.
And that very rarely happens, right?
Gotcha.
But in LA, it's a little different. I told my dad out here, you don't really have too much of a wiggle room for that. Moses Wood actually kind of told me about it, but when I was up there, I told my dad about it. I called him and I was like, "So here's the thing," and he was like, "What?" I said, "I'm not gonna lie." I said, "I'm wearing a lot of red." I said, "So maybe that could be the reason." I said, "But I have also been very adamant in calling this place Palm Springs with neon lights."
Okay, I like that.
Like for years.
I like that.
And I got out there and I was like, "Yeah, no, accurate." I stand by what I said. I told my dad, I was like, "So I don't know if it's because I'm a pretty boisterous black dude." I was like, or if it's the fact that I'm wearing red everywhere I go. And I called him the next morning and was like, "So I have an answer." And he was like, "Oh God, what's the answer?" I said, "It's because I have on red." And he just started laughing. I said, "Bro," I said, "this rivalry thing is real."
It's real.
I said, and I'm loving every single bit of it.
Yeah.
Like I thrive in this energy. I really do.
Yeah, it was. I mean, man, to be honest with you, like I said, I had a lot of fun when I went up there for that weekend, so I don't remember a whole lot.
That's how you know you did it right.
I did it right. Yeah, luckily UNLV won, and we celebrated like we were on the team. That was the cool thing is like that stadium's so small.
Mhm.
So when they won, we actually like the players came and dapped us up and all this and that. My friend, I had a friend, he's crazy. He was. Let's say he had fun too. He knew one of the players. They saw each other, headbutted him right into his helmet. Crazy guy, but
Insane.
I love that guy. His name's Mark Carroll. But
Give him a
yeah,
give him a round of applause, man.
but no, it was a good time, and yeah, I've never been to Reno back since. Never been back since because I don't really.
There's no urge.
I don't want to do that drive again.
Because there's no real urge.
Nope.
But
yeah, painting the
Talk to
cannon.
me.
Painting the cannon.
Mhm.
It's nice for the whole experience. For the not just for the team, but the environment around the whole campus.
Absolutely.
You're being your rival. It's awesome. Like I remember that ceremony my freshman year, and I remember seeing it, but I didn't like. It was one of those things. I was like, well, I gotta go to class. I can't wait in line to do this. But I'll never forget. Fast forward 2019, my senior year, they won on an awesome game.
Mhm.
I want to say Amari Rogers was still our quarterback at the time. As I think it's Marcus Arroyo.
That might have been.
I think he was our coach. No, Marcus Arroyo wasn't our coach yet.
That was Tony,
It was still Tony.
and that was Kenyon.
Tony's last game.
That was Kenyon.
Shout
Shout out to KO.
They won on a great game.
Mhm.
Like they drove down the field,
I
scored a
remember that.
touchdown.
I remember that.
I was working for KUMV. I was setting things up. Everything was cool. I knew this was my senior year, and I was like talking to the guys. I think Justin was one of the playoff
Shout out to
guys.
Russo.
Yeah, shout out to Justin. I was like, "You guys good up here?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm
We'll
like,
see him tonight, as a matter of fact.
awesome. I love Justin, man. I haven't seen him in years.
We'll see him tonight.
I was like, "You guys good up here?" He goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "I'm gonna go down," because I'm like, this is my last year. I'm a student. I want to really enjoy this moment.
Absolutely.
I walked down. I was on the field, and I was on the sideline on that last touchdown. And
I hope you got some footage too.
It was a moment, man. It was awesome. And for some weird reason, fast forward to March. This was during basketball season now. I got to interview Bryce Hamilton. We did an awesome thing. I played a game of horse with him on camera. It was sick. And I went back to Greenspun to put my footage in the computer and everything. And for some weird reason, I do not know why, the Fremont Cannon was just sitting there in Greenspun, and it was
That's fire.
It was newly glossed.
That's
Nobody was around it either. It was just there. Don't know why it was there, but it was there.
I think they should absolutely do that more often.
And I'm like, you know what? Like that was I thought back to that night of that game, and that's the photo I have with the cannon because it was cool. Like I was already
like you just said, it's the moment, right? And then people wonder why UNLV football doesn't have a crazy amount of like campus support, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, as a person, like you just said, we spent majority of our college years in Greenspun.
Yeah.
So between Greenspun and the student union, there's an entire half of campus we don't touch.
Yeah.
So not to sound like that, I do understand the cannon being in the Fertitta football complex. I get it.
Right.
But I also get a Tuesday after Veterans Day for everybody to get back to campus, and you walk into the student union. Oh, it is rivalry week, huh? Like, play with it, have fun.
Yeah.
Like, play on the things that make you who you are, right? And I love the fact that Barry Odom, is what
I was saying. He maybe encourages more of that.
he does.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like I said before, Barry doesn't strike me as an internet type of guy, right? The back and forth that he had, and I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name, but Jeff Choate, or is it Choate, the UNR coach. And please look that up for me.
Yeah.
And I want to say that's his name. And I forgot what he said. Oh, he said in Nevada or in Vegas. I don't know if he said turning it blue in Vegas, recruiting up north, something like still in Vegas as recruits, right? And Barry posted a picture of the cannon. And I forgot what the UNR coach said. And Barry hit him with 287. And then right up under it, he was like 287 rushing yards. Like, that's what UNLV rushed for again. Dog, I was in the bar at the time. I was working, and I was like, this is the offseason. I'm looking at my phone like, I kind of like it. Because in a weird way, the way I took that was the way that I think I want every college coach for me. Barry was like, anybody else can talk, right? Respectfully. And this is the way you should treat your rival. Except for you. I'll turn a blind eye to all of this. Not you. You can't laugh about anything.
Yeah.
I don't ever want you to be happy. Like, I think teams and programs should take that Duke and North Carolina thing,
right?
That USC and UCLA thing, those are real. That Michigan and Ohio State thing, right. Those are real.
Yeah,
they're real.
I think it's Choate.
I think it's Choate.
Yeah.
There's a level of authenticity to it, right? And here's the thing, really quick, while we move on with UNLV football, and being that way, I think Barry has done a great job of picking and choosing his words while also letting people know his intention in terms of we're competing for the highest championship there is to compete for. We want to, rather. I feel like Barry made a key mistake right before the bye week. And I talked about it before. And I said, this is going to make these last 4 games difficult, all 4 of them. The reason why I said that rather, is because Barry said there's still a lot for us to accomplish, whatever, after the loss to Boise, right? Somebody asked the question of what is there still to accomplish? And pardon. And it's one of those moments to where you want honesty, right? And I'm not saying that Barry shouldn't have been honest. Mm-hmm. It's just the way that it was worded. I couldn't have been a coach of any of the next teams that you're going to face, any of the next 4, because I'm playing this for my team.
Gotcha.
He said not to look ahead, but he looked ahead, and he said, we have 4 games left. If we win out, we got 10 wins. That's rare air for this program.
Yeah.
Barry's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Don't let me be one of them next 4 teams that you're going to see. Because you just told everybody in the conference, you're not worried about nobody but Boise.
Right.
If I'm San Diego State, I heard that.
Yeah.
Hawaii clearly heard that.
Yeah.
Oregon State isn't even in this conference, but we already played them. But
yeah,
you get my point, right?
Yeah.
Everybody heard that. Who else does UNLV have on their schedule? Why am I blanking?
San Jose State.
San Jose State. I know they heard it.
And then Reno. Yeah, I mean San Jose State.
UNR, that's going to be what it's going to be. That's going to be smoke from the door. Right. We already know that.
Right.
But these other 4 teams that are in the Mountain West, before you even played them, they heard that.
Yeah.
San Diego State has looked pretty poor all season long, right?
Yeah.
And now you're bringing them into Allegiant Stadium for a matchup. First of all, it's a 7:30 matchup. We talked about them 7:30, 8 p.m. starts for whatever reason.
Right.
But both of your losses this year have been at home.
That's interesting.
Boise beat you here. Syracuse beat you here.
You're right. Yeah. You're exactly right.
On paper, and I know we haven't been able to say this in a while,
Right.
UNLV should win by 18. It should be a blowout.
I wonder if there's a
Why do I feel like this is not going to be a blowout?
well the way they looked against Hawaii. Hopefully they don't look like that again. I mean, maybe that's why you're saying maybe this won't feel like a blowout, because I honestly I don't know how confident they're going to look either. Coming off a like I said, a win that was a little too close. So I don't know. I mean, on the other hand, when I look at San Diego State,
They're bad.
they're coming off 3 straight losses.
They're bad.
Granted, 2 of those losses were close. 29-26 lost to Wazoo, and 21-16 against New Mexico.
A Wazoo team that I believe is ranked right now, right?
They
They're
are
just
actually
21.
ranked. Yeah.
Like,
So they played them really close. I don't know how they're ranked either. I don't know. But
because they're 7-1 or something stupid.
let's see.
They're ridiculous.
Are they really?
Bro, Oregon State and Wazoo have been smacking.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they are 8-1.
Yeah, see.
Okay. I guess they kind of flew under my radar at
'Cause
least.
nobody cared about the Pac-12. Like, this is still not a team of
That's exactly
highly
why.
qualified college football players.
And that man, I miss the Pac-12 sometimes.
You'll get it back in 2 years. Don't worry about it.
No, I know, but that was the crazy thing, was that last year, Pac-12 had one of its best football seasons ever, and it was this last year. That was what the.
But it's not
ironic
the last
about
year. It's just that
it was that.
version of it.
Yeah, but
you
I
know?
mean, it's not the same, Like,
I will say, as people from Southern California, and we got to be honest with ourselves, the only reason why we're saying that is because of UCLA and USC. We never envisioned the Pac-12 without them growing up.
100%.
If you would have told us Oregon was leaving, we would have been like, we would have got over it. If you would have told us Stanford was leaving, we would have
right,
we would have got over it.
Right.
You told us SC was leaving, and my stomach turned.
yeah,
I was like, we're going where? You want me to play who? You want us to play? So now Michigan's the right? I don't want to do this.
right.
I don't even know why I don't like Michigan. Now I got to find a reason. Like, I don't. Yeah, that's what made the Pac-12 kind of fall apart to
Right.
me. Right?
No, I agree with you 100%. It's sad that I feel
I don't
like
like the Mountain West, right?
yeah,
Getting San Diego State leaving, so now you're looking around at the basketball teams like, well, I mean, UNLV, you got to do it, right?
yeah. I know it. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to look too far ahead either. But yeah, hopefully this Saturday's game is a game
I
that
don't even know if I'm gonna be here.
we should handle. It's a game that they should handle. If they get past that, I think the one that's kind of iffy is on the road at San Jose State. It's a Friday night game.
It's a great point.
San Jose State 6-3. So that's the one I'm
A
kind
team
of like.
that you lost to last year in a
Yeah.
spot where you felt like you. I don't want to say you couldn't lose, but in the spot where you kind of was like, we win this, we're in the Mountain West Championship, and you stumbled.
And I don't want to give UNR too much credit, but they gave Boise State a good game.
Yeah,
So
we were on Boise State. What's it called? And by the way, completely random, but we are talking about the Mountain West. I did tell the guys when we were watching the game, I said, if, and that's a big if Air Force beats Fresno State, we got to have a different conversation. And Air Force beat Fresno State.
Dang.
With all due respect, since I've been here in 2017, the best football game that I've seen from start to finish for this program was that 59-14 win over Fresno. That was the best I had seen this team perform. This is worse.
that was the if I'm wrong, but wasn't that Hajj Malik's first game too?
Was it
I
after
wanna
week
say-
3?
Yeah,
It was the conference opener. Yep,
yeah,
that was.
that was his first game.
That was the first game.
Yeah,
And he
That-
smoked them.
that was a great performance overall. Everyone, offense, defense, special teams, everyone.
By far the best performance I've seen from this program since I've been here.
Hey, can I tell you something that I just saw on my phone right now? John Robinson passed away, age 89. I just saw on my phone right now. I know we're kind of talking about USC and
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm sorry to bring that up, but
No, I'm trying to go to my phone really quick. Now I'm trying to see if we can do something really quick.
yeah, just saw it right now. Legendary USC and LA Rams football coach dies at age 89. Like a minute ago, popped up on my phone. But
breaking news, rest in peace to him. Man, you talk a lot about legacy, right?
mm-hmm.
And and I'll read this tweet from Chris Mathis. Former UNLV coach John Robinson passed away in Baton Rouge this afternoon. Everyone was his best friend. That's just who he was. The 89-year-old passed with family members by his side. One of our favorites in Vegas. Yeah, man, just a round of applause. Yeah, round of applause for him. 89 years old. Whenever I hear something like that, it's a job well done, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Man, whole lot of stories go with him, right? And things, and especially in terms of things that he saw too.
Pac-12 history too, right?
Yeah, man.
Like we were just talking about that. It's
wow.
It's crazy. I mean, like different. No, this is I won't touch on that. This is John's moment. Like I was just gonna say, with me personally,
Mm-hmm.
I've always been more of a basketball guy,
Mm-hmm.
so I followed UCLA more
Mm-hmm.
than SC.
Wrong answer.
But I mean, with the season just starting a week ago and Pac-12 not being Pac-12 anymore, it feels weird for me this season. UCLA not being the Pac-12, but Bill Wallen not being there.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how I feel personally. It's gonna be a weird year for me on that front and the Jerry West front, but it's different. That's a whole different league.
No,
but
you're kind of staying on topic in a weird way, only because I had the conversation with my dad. I forgot when. But I mean, for lack of a better term, man, we're just getting older, dog.
I know.
That's just what it is. We're getting older, and I forgot what I was looking at, dog. What was it? It was somebody's age.
Yeah, man.
And it happened a couple times over the past couple years. Somebody said old is realizing that Dame is in year 11 or year 10 or something like that. It was Dame.
Dude, you know what really tripped me out?
It was PG. It was somebody that made me be like,
what really
might have been Julius Randle.
Oh, that's what really tripped me out. Honestly, that's a good. I love you brought that up.
Julius Randle was the first person that was drafted that was younger than me. That made me be like,
wow.
Whoa.
The thing that really tripped me out was me realizing that KD is now on shoe 17 or 18.
Yeah, that's insane.
Because to me, like, I think KD of
Donovan Mitchell's on like 8.
Yeah,
like for whatever it's worth.
But I still remember like it was yesterday when KD had the 4s and he was the next guy up and you knew it. You know what I mean?
Are those his best shoes?
It's for me. It's either 4 or the 6.
I like the 7s.
You're like, okay.
I like the 7.
Just because I mean I gotta credit what he did in those shoes. That's why. That's personally why. Because it's the 4, he took him to the finals. He had his breakout moment. The 6, the MVP season. And those shoes, even though they were shaped differently, I tried them on one time because my teammate had them on.
Mm-hmm.
They are comfortable.
Most of KD shoes are.
I mean, I just
most of his shoes. I'll give him that.
But yeah, 4 and 6 in my opinion. But no, but you brought up a good point. Julius Randle, he was in the infamous. I could be wrong. 2014 draft class. I could be wrong. It might be 2013. It might be 2013, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But
I don't remember. But I do know that he was, like I said, only thing I remember was sitting there watching the draft. And usually when I watch the draft, still to this day, I have a notepad out and I'm writing my draft picks down.
Yeah.
And he was the one that I wrote his birthday and was like,
that's when you said, "Whoa,
damn!" I was like, "What am I doing with myself?" I was at Cerritos College at the time too.
Okay.
But yeah, man. We will move on from UNLV football.
Yeah, I apologize.
And no, you're good. I mean, we
going on turns, but yeah, RIP.
We have 25 minutes left. So it's not much to talk about with the Raiders. The Raiders are coming off of a bye week as of right now. Made a couple changes, right? Joe Philbin is actually filling in now as the offensive line coach. Norv Turner is also taking over. I believe they said as a senior advisor.
Yeah, that was interesting to me.
I am no longer shocked by the things that this Raider franchise does.
I wish you were wrong, But
I don't know what you guys want me to say. I
I
have
agree.
nothing to say.
I agree with you 100% on that. Unfortunately, that is true.
I think the Raiders' best case scenario right now is to win 4 or 5 games. I think their best case scenario. Let me tell you what's a win for the Raiders. Winning 4 to 5 games, building some sort of traction toward the end of the year. Unfortunately, that means that this losing streak probably extends for a little bit. But you start to kind of pick up traction toward the end of the year. You have to garner and gather interest from other teams. Not from other teams, from other players. And what I mean by that is we could see it a couple of years ago, right? In terms of Detroit. You could look at them and you could go,
yes,
guys are going to want to play there.
They got something brewing there.
You looked at Houston and you're like, guys are going to want to play there.
Yeah.
This year too, it's Washington. You're looking up and guys are like, I want to go play there. They would have never asked for that 2 or 3 years ago, right?
Hell no.
The Raiders have effectively done the opposite over the last 2 years.
Wow, man. Like I said, I wish you were wrong on that one, but it's true. It's the truth. Can I say real fast also though? 2 of those 3 teams you mentioned, shout out to the Empire. CJ Stroud and Jaden Daniels.
Bro.
That's awesome, man. I love it, man.
2 guys that AP wanted.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I love it though, man. I like, I like to rep LA County and in the Inland Empire. So when I see Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud do what they're doing, like it makes me happy seeing them, ball out on this level. But sorry, that's my little biasness. But yeah, I mean, I wish you were wrong. The Raiders, man, it's tough. It's tough to watch, and they're doing exactly what you said. They're doing the opposite, where players are literally leaving because they want to leave.
When I say doing the opposite, I actually mean the way that teams were on the outside looking in, whispering to their agents, hey, get me to Houston. Hey, I don't know what the hell just happened on YouTube. Get me to Houston. Get me to Washington. Get me to Detroit. You had guys saying a couple years ago, get me to Vegas.
Yeah.
And now you have the exact opposite in the sense of don't send me to Vegas. And it's one of those things to where that's why I said if you can garner something salvageable, and it's going to sound nuts because you did it last year. You caught some energy toward the end of the year,
right? And
now you're here. So if you're able to duplicate what happened last year, let's say the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, you're able to piece together 3 or 4 wins or 2 or 3 wins, right? Whatever the case may be. Now you have some guys in the offseason that maybe look at the franchise and, okay, maybe a piece here, maybe a piece here. We know we need a quarterback, right? Okay, a draft pick here. Okay, a trade here. You have to build something because, unfortunately, I've had conversations in the bar, and of course, these are just regular patrons that I'm talking to, right? But I have questions for these patrons who watch a lot of football, and a lot of them know football. I'll ask them who's the worst team in the league. People get to thinking. Well, Jacksonville stinks. Well, Daniel Jones is really the problem in New York, right? Well, if you had a different quarterback, maybe the Giants are. Most people say Carolina. Cool. They beat the Raiders this year.
Mm-hmm. Now they have 3 wins, I believe.
So do you want to answer that question again? The Raiders can't afford to be there.
I know.
The worst team in the league? You can't be in the conversation.
Yep.
Because right now, if you ask me, somebody who covers the team, the Panthers are still poor. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh, for sure.
I think that's why they're I think they're the answer. But if you wanted to have this conversation, I think the Raiders are absolutely on the same tier as the New York Giants.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't think it was that bad until this week when I was really looking at the records, all the records everybody has.
And you realize that they're 29th?
Yeah.
30th in the league actually right now?
Yeah. I was like, wow. Like I knew we've been losing, but man, I didn't know I literally did not realize it was this bad. I want to Did you say right now your answer is still Carolina, or you said
My answer is Carolina because I don't think they know where to go from here.
Okay. I mean,
At least the Raiders had a direction as early or as late as 6 weeks ago.
and
It ain't the same direction anymore, but at least they had one.
And I would say at least I think the Raiders are still in a better competitive division than Carolina.
That's why I don't even want to have the conversation about Carolina. Carolina, for me right now, is in the position that the Jets were in when Adam Gase was there.
Okay.
Burn it.
Yeah.
Burn it from the bottom up.
But yeah, I mean, like
from the top down, however you want to do it. I would rather start at the bottom and literally light it all the way up. I'm not putting any stock into that, right?
Gotcha.
But in terms of people looking, like I said before, and this is the funny part because I just said that I feel like they're on the exact same tier as the Giants.
Yeah, you're right.
If the Raiders were in Dallas right now,
okay.
If the Raiders were in New York right now, if the Raiders, I won't say LA per se, and people in LA media might be like, what? No, I stand by what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you.
Because if they were in Oakland, I don't think this would be the same thing. LA, maybe. But absolutely, if they were in Dallas,
right,
and if they were in New York, in a weird way, the Raiders are lucking out by being in Vegas right now.
No, I agree with you.
Because they're getting ripped to shreds by people like us.
Right.
But nationally, they're just like, oh, the Raiders suck.
But also,
the Raiders should not be in this position when their core looked the way it did 12 games ago.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And maybe, and I'm saying this as, like I said, we didn't touch. I mentioned it, I didn't touch on it, but I do root for the Rams and the Raiders.
You told me, I think you said it on an episode.
I mentioned it. I didn't get into the details of that, but unfortunately, you're right. Or they're not in a bigger market, so they're getting off lucky on that end. And you know, they're not. We don't have anybody putting our foot in our mouths like Jerry Jones is for Dallas, but
he needs to stop that
seriously. But maybe another reason why they're not getting ripped to shreds too much nationally is, unfortunately, I think people are used to them kind of just.
I agree.
Just making mistake after mistake.
Which is why I just said what I said.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the biggest blow for the Raiders was that you looked the way you did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because you know what it's going to look like and you know what it's going to age like? Darren Williams, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett in Brooklyn. You're laughing.
I love that. That's funny.
I'm so dead ass right now.
It's funny. No, I love that you brought that up, that comparison. Though.
Because it's not one of them situations where it's like, oh, the guys were too old.
Yeah.
But you're going to probably watch as these careers taper off, and you're going to watch Derek Carr. And you might say, okay, we got the last couple good years out of him. Now he's like a mediocre quarterback. We may have had him when he was above average, whatever the case may be, right? You look at Josh Jacobs. I grew up a Packer fan. He's running his ass off for the Packers right now.
I'm happy for him.
You may be. I'm super happy.
Yeah.
But let's just say the running back curse that we've seen is real. And let's just say Josh does this for 2 more years. And then the cliff comes.
Right.
And he can't get 4 yards to carry. It is what it is, right? You may look at Devontae Adams, who I actually wanted to talk about really quick.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure he's in a better situation than when he was here in Vegas.
For real. Seriously.
So you may start to look at the core pieces, and Max may be your Hall of Famer for the Raiders, right? Yeah. May end up spending 14 of his 15 years here. Finally, year 15, he's like, get me out of here. I got to figure out something. Like, he may be one of those guys.
Right.
I told you guys, if I'm Mark, if I'm Tom Telesco, if I'm anybody who has ever led the Raiders, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens.
100%.
Now, if he wants to go somewhere, now me and him have to have a conversation, but I'm never giving him up willingly. That's I'm not doing it.
100%.
So you may start to look at your core from 2 years ago, and you start to kind of piece it together, and you go, damn, we fumbled this away.
Yeah.
Because going back to the Paul Pierce situation, or the Brooklyn Nets situation, let me just mention some of those names. Joe Johnson was the scorer, right?
Yes.
You looked at Darren Williams, and Darren Williams was the point guard that I used to argue in the 2008, 2009, 2010.
Underrated.
I used to always argue points you're responsible for. If he's giving you 24 and 11,
yes,
the only person giving you more assists than that is Chris Paul, and he giving you 18. Darren is responsible for more of the offense.
I think a lot of people forget about him.
Absolutely. But you surround him with winning pieces, and then all of a sudden you look at him, and it's just like, damn. You can't produce right now. Why? Then you look at KG and you go, okay, but it's easy to see you're old. And then you look at Paul Pierce and you go, oh, well, you're old. And then you see Paul Pierce in two other situations, i.e. the Clippers and Washington, and you go,
right.
Damn, you can compete. I feel like that's exactly where we are with the Raiders. We're going to look back and we're going to look at that and we're going to be like, this is Photoshop. These guys didn't play here.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's sad. But you're right. I think, yeah, you know what? 100%. Because that I feel like if you ask anybody, I have a really good feeling that they'll probably forget or not even know that Randy Moss did a year or two in Oakland as well.
Raider fans remember?
I mean, they're the only ones that are
No, that's my point.
Yeah.
Damian Lillard just said it. He said, watch Devontae Adams go and have his Randy Moss year now.
I'm not going to lie. That is why 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago. No, 2 years ago. Maybe 3. No, there was 2. When the trade to get Devontae became a thing, oh, man, like my cousin was all happy, and then his friend was all happy. And I was excited, but they were talking about like, oh, can't wait to get the jersey, can't wait to get the jersey. And I said, I'm gonna put the brakes on that one.
I want to wait
because I remember how that situation played out almost 20 years ago. And sadly, I mean, Devontae's not having success right now, which I know you want to touch on a little bit.
I mean, we kind of already did it. I just don't think he said here that being here made him appreciate certain things in Green Bay more. Not that he regrets his decision.
Right.
We didn't struggle in certain places in Green Bay that we can't get over here. Now he's with the Jets. And he looks the exact same way he did on the sideline that he did here. Again, I know I grew up a Packer fan. Part of me wants to toy with the idea Devontae Adams is going to be a Packer again before he retires. And it won't be a one-day signing for him to retire as a Packer.
He'll actually come in.
He will go back to the Packers at some point.
Hey, hopefully. Why not? Why not let him play with Jordan Love? I mean, it'd be cool to see.
Whenever Aaron retires, I believe he leaves the Jets. He probably goes back to Green Bay. He probably finishes his career there. But like he may be one of those people.
Like a one-day signing thing, or
1 year maybe.
But he's gonna. So he's just.
I see him playing as a Packer again.
Rodgers?
No, I said when Aaron retires, I can see Devontae leaving.
Oh, okay. I didn't get. Okay, I wasn't sure.
Let's say Aaron leaves in two
I'm
years.
I'm with you now. I wasn't okay.
So if Aaron plays 2 more seasons after this, and then he fully hangs him up,
yes,
I could see Devontae saying, "I got a year or 2 left. Let me go back to my old Steinberg." I don't know if he'll go to a place like a Tampa. I don't know that he'll want to go to a Dallas. I don't know that he'll want to start over from that perspective.
Right.
So, and not to sound like that either. I still think he would walk into Green Bay and people would be like, yo, that's Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Like, he still owns half of the records in this building. Like, I don't know that we've had a better receiver since him, right? So he still would walk in with a certain type of cachet. I don't care if he is 35. I don't care if he is 36. I don't care if he is 37. That's what I see.
Okay.
Because hearing the way that he's talked about, and again, you don't know until you're there, right?
Yeah.
And who was I talking to? Oh, no, I wasn't talking to anybody. I was listening to a podcast. Jeff Teague said it. Jeff Teague said he was in Indiana. He said, and he had asked after practice, he was like, so where's brunch? Like, do we go to the cafeteria? Like, is it a team room? He said one of his teammates was like, brunch. And Jeff was like, they don't feed y'all after practice? And he said the rest of his teammates was like, they fed you in Atlanta?
Oh, man.
He said he went to Larry Bird and was like, yo, they acting like I'm tripping. Like, where's the food?
Right. Well, Larry Bird probably laughed in his face.
Larry said, did you get paid this week? Jeff was like, yeah. Larry said, go find you some food.
That's wild.
Jeff said they do it now. They cater lunches now. But you don't know what other franchises do until you go to the other franchise. I think Devontae got to the Raiders and was like, what the hell is this? I think he was like, okay, I'm gonna stick it through. I think he is one of those people that has that's married to his conviction. I think he was one of those people that was like, I'm gonna stick this through.
I agree with you 100%. You could tell he wanted to make it work.
He tried to make it work.
Wanted to it. He wanted to do it, but after a certain point, you hit the limit, and that's what happened. I agree with you 100%.
And now I think he got to the Jets, and I think in his mind, I really do. I think week 2 or 3, he got to the Jets, and he was like, "Oh my God, it's the same thing."
Yeah.
That's why I could see him saying the safe bet is to just go back home. I don't think he does it now, and he spends 4 years in Green Bay, right? But I do see toward the end of his career him just saying, "I want stability," and I haven't had stability in my career outside of Green Bay.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with that.
Raiders are back in action as a 2-7, second to last place team in the league on Sunday against the Miami Dolphins in Miami. They lost there last year on my birthday. Again, man, they're 1-4 on the road, so I don't know. I don't know what you guys want me to say. We could talk Vegas Golden Knights, and we can get out of here. Vegas recently dropped an overtime game in Seattle against the Kraken. You covered this game. It was a 4-3 loss. That overtime loss, it came on a breakaway. Of those 4 goals, 2 of them were breakaways. Brandon Tanev had 2 goals in that game. No, I lied. You didn't cover this game. I covered this game.
Yeah.
Brandon Tanev had 2 goals in this game, one of which was a breakaway. So I thought it was interesting. I think Tanner Pearson talked about it after the game. If it wasn't Tanner, it was Nick Waugh. Aiden Hill catches a lot of flack. And to be honest with you, that's why Logan wanted out. Just to be completely honest, like when things go wrong for this team, the goalie gets the brunt of it. When things go well, the goalie never gets the pat on the back. And Logan had a point.
Yeah.
We've watched Aiden this season. I've talked about it at least twice. I've watched certain scenarios and situations where Aiden has been talked about in a certain way that's made me kind of look around and be like, is this the same guy that brought us a cut 2 years ago? And it's not that the fall off can't happen, right? But in going to these games, in covering these games, I'm watching how Aiden is playing, and there are some games where the defense holds and he doesn't see a shot for almost an entire period. And then there are certain games, i.e. during that first homestand, you and I talked about it, the game starts. In the first 3 minutes, he's got 4 saves.
Yeah.
The puck he can't get the puck out of his face in the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game. What I thought was interesting, I think Nick Waugh said it, that game is a lot uglier if Aiden doesn't play the way he plays. And I think his backing of Aiden, even after a loss, lends credence to what I just said a little bit in terms of the breakaway. I know Bruce Cassidy talked about it after the game as well. The breakaways, right? And anytime you're in a one-on-one hockey situation, it's going to look away. The likelihood of them lighting the lamp is higher for several reasons. Sure. What Bruce highlighted was the unforced errors. And like he said, it happened with guys that it doesn't really happen to. So from that standpoint, I mean, he didn't say it, but it's kind of an outlier, right?
Yeah.
That final goal was off of a giveaway from Eichel, who had 3 assists on the night. Who, just if you want to talk about talent-wise in this league, you could argue top 3, top 2 if you want to say Connor McDavid, right? So at the very least, you have a top 5 NHL talent with a crucial giveaway. And what I saw from this group was something that you don't see all the time. I saw a lot of picking up of Aiden. And to be honest with you, Aiden is in between the pipes tonight. I wouldn't be shocked to see Aiden have one of his signature games tonight.
Well, I want to touch real fast, but the game prior to that loss in Seattle, they won up in Edmonton,
Mm-hmm.
and
First road win.
Yeah, first road win, and that's a game that I did cover, and he had some big time saves.
You put that in the story. You did.
And like, man, I mean, he did normal saves, but then there was times where he had to use, for some reason he was outstretched all the way to his right, and the puck came back to his left side, stuck out his the pad on his leg, got a save like that. He got a hip save on his hip. There was a play where he was laying on his back. He got the save somehow, and then funny enough, the puck hit him right in the mask too. So he had a whole bunch of saves, and I think that's probably one of those games where it was similar to the season where he led him all the way to the cup. Because everyone remembers that one iconic goal he had, right? And
or save.
Save and yeah, that game up in Edmonton kind of reminded me of that because he was saving so many different ways, like use every facet. I mean, I find it funny that he literally had a save using his mask.
Yeah,
he caught it with his face. So
literally,
but yeah, I mean, tough loss on the road, but now they're back home, and like the way they had his back. Hopefully, we see how that looks tonight. They have his back, and we have a signature Adin Hill game.
And keep in mind too, we'll be there tonight from the T-Mobile Arena. 7 p.m. is puck drop is the first face off. 7 p.m. They're taking on Carolina. So, As a matter of fact, I didn't switch the camera over. The camera's back on me now, but I didn't switch the camera over a second ago. You guys may have saw me staring pretty intensely at my phone. I wanted to look at a number really quick, but the Carolina Hurricanes average more than 4 goals a game, right? Almost like 4.2. So while I feel an Adin Hill signature game could be on the horizon, considering how we've seen this team play at home, it would not shock me to see this game be 6-5.
Okay.
I don't know that that's the best thing for Adin, considering what he just came off of, despite the guys having his back. Every time that lamp gets lit, every goalie, with the exception of maybe like 4, like every goalie in the history of hockey that I've seen slumps their shoulders. It's a confidence thing. One got by you, right?
Yeah.
The less that can happen tonight, more than any other night, is big for Adin. Because we've covered this season kind of together so far. You're probably going to get somebody else in between the pipes for the next game.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So
as a result, you don't want 1, let alone 2 bad outings sitting on Adin's mental going into a time where he might not play for 4 or 5. Sometimes close to a week, right?
Yeah.
4 or 5 days, rather. So I'm interested to see how that works. Mark Stone missed the last game. As a result, Nick Waugh was put onto the top line, and he scored on the top line as well. So that top line continues to be vital for this group, right? Every team's top line is going to be vital. But with the way that this season has gone, right, the up and down play from probably the second and third lines or the second and fourth lines, it's put a little more pressure on those top guys. Even Tomas Hertl, who's on that second line, talked about it before, right? Earlier in the season, you had games flat out being won by this top line. So it continues to be one of the driving forces, if not the driving force, for this hockey team. As of right now, they're second in the Pacific. They are 9-3-2 on the year, good for 20 points. They are currently a point behind the LA Kings, who sit at 9-4-3 on the year.
Yeah, one thing I want to touch on, you brought up Mark Stone.
Mm-hmm.
According to ESPN, it says he is out for tonight's game as well.
Okay, sounds about right.
And Samsonov, well, he's Adin Hill's backup. He was day to day, but it says that he could possibly come back today if they needed him to. And same goes for Shea Theodore.
And again, hockey is going to provide its fair share of injuries for a multitude of reasons. The severity of the sport, the physicality of the sport. We've seen the Knights have complete seasons decimated by injuries before. Let's not panic yet. Let's not panic yet. But guys are dropping.
Yeah.
And it's happening again. So we'll see what happens. But I do know that they have the right guy leading them, right? In terms of Bruce Cassidy. He seems like somebody that can be a decade-long coach here, given the situation, right? Now, considering how much change this franchise likes to do, I don't know if that'll happen. I think he's nowhere near the hot seat right now, but I think just in terms of temperament and what this franchise needs, he came at the perfect time, won a cup in his time here already.
Yeah.
And as we continue to kind of document and highlight on this radio show, probably the most honest coach that we have here in Vegas. You'll actually get a chance to meet him in person tonight. But yeah, man, I think we had a conversation at the UNLV game. Bruce is probably the best. Yeah. Becky's close. Bruce is probably the best quote in the city.
Really?
I think he is. And amongst media members that I speak to, I think Bruce is probably the best quote in the city for sure.
Okay. No, it's interesting. But I mean, yeah, in my short time, in the short season covering the Knights so far, I do kind of get the feeling, like you said, he is one of the most honest coaches I've seen so far. And yeah, I mean, if you're saying he's the best quote, I gotta take your word for that. Is that in all the sports, like including like the UNLV athletics too?
Everybody. I think my personal favorite. What the hell did I do? I think my personal favorite is probably Lindy. And that's just like a personal thing. I just like the way Lindy answers questions.
Right.
In terms of, you can ask Bruce, hey, that breakaway goal that ended the game, what did you see there? Most coaches, i.e. myself, if I was coaching, I would look and I would say, I saw the other team win the game.
Keep it at that.
The hell do you want me to say?
Right.
Bruce will give you a 4-minute explanation.
Okay, that's what you mean by that. Okay, then yes.
No, that's one of the ways that it's shown. When I say Bruce is the best quote,
yeah,
Bruce is the best quote, meaning somebody asked him after a win.
Okay.
Hey, you guys picked up the first road win against Edmonton. He looked at it and was like, I thought we played poor all night. Well, you don't really have very many coaches telling you, yeah, we're kind of lucky to get out of here with a dub.
Right.
He'll tell you.
That's a good point.
We'll see tonight.
Yeah.
We'll see tonight. They're playing a 10-3 Carolina squad. So a top Western Conference team versus a top Eastern Conference team. This is a great early season test for both of them.
Should be a really, honestly, yeah, like you said, should be a really good competitive game. They both had 20 points going into this game, so yeah, I'm excited to see how it plays out tonight. And first game back at home in what, about over a week now.
We're in the week,
so
sounds about right. Isaiah has the story tonight. I'll be there. I'm gonna be honest. I'll probably be there working on Aviators. Now that I didn't got this notification about the trade, now right. I wanna check in with some people.
Yeah.
But until next time, guys, you know where we're headed. We are headed to the T-Mobile Arena,
right?
The Fortress, 7 p.m. puck drop. Until next time, guys. Keep on talking.